The Adani Group scandal, a house of cards or pure fraud. January 24, 2023. Hindenburg Research, an investment research firm, had just made headlines for a damning publication. So damning, in fact, that in just 10 days, this report will cause the Indian multinational conglomerate Adani Group to bleed out over $110 billion of its fortune. What could be so incriminating that would cause an empire with deep roots in almost every sector of India's economy to lose so much value in so little time? This was even called the biggest corporate fraud in the history of corporate frauds, beating the FTX fiasco a few months ago by a mile, or by $100 billion more to be exact. We're talking stock price manipulation, accounting fraud, corruption, money laundering, tax evasion, insider trading, and a host of other scandalous practices, all carried out in a very sophisticated scheme for many years before the clock was finally running out for Adani Group. Welcome to Gritflix, the channel that gives you high-quality mini-documentaries covering topics about money, power, and business, and this is the Adani Group scandal. Rise of the Adani Empire. We all love a rags to riches story. Humble beginnings, poor parents, given nothing by the world but still made something out of himself through sheer willpower, chip in a few $1 billion, and you have your perfectly happy ever after fairy tale. On the surface, this was precisely the story of Gautam Adani. Born one of 8 children to an impoverished family, Gautam always wanted something better, something different. Business, yes, but not his father's humble textile business. Oh no, Gautam had always set his sights on much bigger goals. His vision and daring even led him to quit his university before finishing his business degree. Because who needs a pesky degree when you are destined for greatness in the real world? Young Gautam worked as a diamond sorter for a while before managing his brother's plastic import business, where he would catch his first big break. His brother's business dealt in the import of polyvinyl chloride, PVC, a key raw material for manufacturing plastics. While working at his brother's plastics unit, Gautam gained valuable hands-on experience in the intricacies of global trade. He steadily grew enough capital so that by 1985, he had started importing primary polymers for small-scale industries. In 1988, he created his own business, Adani Exports, now Adani Enterprises, as a partnership firm with a humble capital of 5 lakhs, about $15,277 adjusted for inflation today. He dealt in metals, textiles, agricultural, and power commodities. Adani Exports had a slow start, but Gautam was able to leverage his persuasion skills and the experience from running his brother's plastic company to get favorable land allotment policies and guidelines from the government. 1991, India began to create economic liberalization policies to open itself to global trade. Nobody was in a better position to benefit from these policies than Gautam Adani. If there was anything that could be bought or sold, you could be sure Adani Enterprises was buying and selling it, and making a very generous profit too. The more Adani's empire grew, the more Gautam Adani realized the benefits of having close ties with the government. Everyone who was someone knew Adani. By 1995, he even had his own nice little port to manage. The business developed more arms, more reach, and more money. Competitors were struggling to keep up. Adani Enterprises had their fingers tapped into nearly every sector of the economy. Think coal, renewable energy, imports and exports, grid transformation, sports, real estate, defense, and aerospace. Anything you can think of, Adani Group had been there, done that. To no one's surprise, Adani Group had over $100 billion in market capitalization by April 2021. In just 1 year though, Adani Group somehow doubled that figure so that by April 2022, it crossed the $200 billion mark and well on its way to $300 billion. That same year, Gautam Adani surpassed Jeff Bezos to become the second richest man in the world at a net worth of $156.3 billion. An impressive achievement, but it's starting to raise eyebrows. Securing power. Despite being the mastermind behind his huge capitalist machinery, Gautam Adani was a philanthropist at heart. Through his Adani Foundation, he had donated several $1 million worth of aid to the poor and needy. His latest remarkable charity venture was donating a whopping $7.7 billion to social causes. As a mega capitalist, you must keep the masses sated so they can keep pouring their coins into your coffers and maintain your image as a good guy. You don't want to be seen as a miserly, corrupt Adani. Oh no, you're the successful businessman who came from nothing and cared for the ones who are still struggling. You want them to see you as a hero, even if it might not be true. Most importantly, Gautam Adani was very close with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his right-wing Bharatiya Janata Party. So, whenever the government had a juicy contract to award, Gautam just had to call his pal Modi and everything will be set. In 2018, for example, the Indian government was looking to privatize 6 of the country's airports, and, surprise, surprise, Adani Group won all 6. Just like that, Adani Group became one of the biggest players in the Indian aviation industry. Definitely not suspicious at all, right? So now you know one of the keys to building generational wealth was to have a few influential politicians in your pocket. How else will your empire remain untouched even when you and your family members had been the subject of several corruption and fraud allegations? How else will you silence critics and crush competitors? A scandalous past. Gautam Adani had not exactly been squeaky clean. I mean, who built a multi-billion-dollar empire without getting their hands a little dirty every now and then, right? Gautam Adani and fellow capitalist Mukesh Ambani had been accused of influencing cronyism in India through their close ties with the right-wing ruling Bharatiya Janata Party. Remember when we mentioned Adani was best pals with Prime Minister Modi? With the #1 man in the country on your side, you can basically do anything you want, like getting the court to do your bidding. No serious charges ever came out of these accusations. For example, in 2012, when India's Serious Fraud Investigation Office filed a charge against Adani for cheating and criminal conspiracy, Adani Agro was allegedly involved in a series of illegal activities not made known to the public. But by 2014, a Mumbai court had discharged Adani and business continued as usual. Although Adani Group did not call itself a family business, almost all its top ranks and executive positions were occupied by family members, all of whom had their fair share of scandals. Rajesh Adani, Gautam Adani's younger brother, had been accused of engaging in a diamond trading import-export scheme between 2004 and 2005 alongside brother-in-law Samir Vora and was arrested multiple times. His older brother, Vinod Adani, had also been the subject of several investigations. Investigations into money laundering schemes, political corruption, fraud, and other serious accusations that, if found guilty, should have sent him to a decades-long jail staycation. Yet, for Vinod Adani, they remained nothing more than just scandals. This was one family no one in India dared mess with. Hindenburg versus Adani Group. The latest and boldest accusation against Adani Group came from Hindenburg Research, an activist short-selling firm based in New York. Hindenburg Research was a relatively young company, having been established in 2017. Yet, they had an impressive portfolio, previously exposing corporate behemoths like Nikola, Clover, and Lordstown Motors for their damaging fraud practices. This earned them a solid reputation in the investment community. In 2023, it seemed they finally got their target sighted on the Adani Group. Hindenburg drew first blood on January 24, 2023, publishing a report accusing Adani Group of every kind of fraud allegations you can imagine. The accusations. For some context, Adani Group was sprinting towards a $300 billion market valuation at the end of 2022. This sharply contrasted with the previous year's report when Adani Group was worth just over $100 billion. This massive growth catapulted Gautam Adani from being the world's 200th richest man 3 years before into the wealthiest man in India. This kind of exponential growth was rather unusual. He practically grew the worth of his company by almost threefold in 3 years during a global pandemic, economic slowdowns, and other global instabilities. In that same period, the group's 7 key listed companies spiked by over 819%. Several investors believed these figures are too good to be true, the stuff of fairy tales, and Hindenburg was one of those. The report detailed many evidence of suspicious transactions, sketchy relationships, and shady numbers that suggested Adani Group had been involved in stock manipulation and accounting fraud. One of the points the report made was that stock valuations for Adani Group firms did not align with their fundamentals, as many did not generate a consistent profit. Basically, when compared to other companies in their respective industries, Adani Group companies were overvalued by 85%. Many of Adani's listed entities in the group were highly leveraged relative to industry averages, meaning the company's creditors were at risk. Adani Green Energy, Adani Total Gas, Adani Transmissions, and Adani Enterprises allegedly had negative free cash flow. The report claimed this was an indication that Adani's over-leveraged situation was worsening, possibly pushing it off the deep end. Adani Group's current ratio, which was a measure of liquid assets less near-term liabilities, was also troubling. 5 of its 7 listed companies, all except for Adani Ports and Adani Wilmar, had current ratios below 1.0, which, according to the report, suggested a heightened short-term liquidity risk. Also, the group had a habit of pledging its stock for loans. This meant that when Adani Group wanted to take a loan, it would use its company stock as collateral for the loans. Think of it like borrowing from A to pay B. So the company had all these loans that it could not pay unless its stock remained at the same or increased in value. Thanks to the Hindenburg report, Adani stocks had started to take a plunge. So how will they ever repay their debt? The report also talked about how offshore funds and shell companies with ties to the Adani Group owned a significant amount of the company's shares. These shell companies were based in Mauritius and were owned by Vinod Adani, Gautam's slippery older brother. What exactly was the nature of the relationship between these companies and the group? Your guess is as good as mine. Yet the companies had over 99% of their money in Adani shares. The websites showed no evidence that the companies actually did real work. There were no listed employees, and it all just looked very suspicious for Adani Group. Hindenburg's theory was that these funds helped control the group's stock price by carrying out trades which made up a substantial portion of the stock's trading volume, also known as insider trading and stock price manipulation. So, a company drowning in debt and propped up with overpriced stocks sounds like a recipe for disaster. The report further detailed undisclosed related party transactions. For example, a shell company might quickly absorb an asset right before it was written down to save Adani Group from reporting a write-off. The report also accused Adani Group of lacking financial control, which played out in the company's allegedly misappropriating taxpayer funds. It turned out that was the main reason why institutional investors had steered clear of the firm. The report concluded with 88 questions addressed to the Adani Group, which, when the group responded, was supposed to clear the air and let everyone know what exactly was going on. But the group's response so far had been underwhelming. The 413-page rebuttal consisted of court documents proving the group's innocence over these accusations. They claimed innocence and even went as far as accusing Hindenburg Research for slander. They were, after all, painting all these horrible lies against innocent poor Adani. But really, since Adani Group had managed to evade the court's scrutiny time and time again, who would actually believe in these documents? House of Cards. The Hindenburg Research report is bleeding Adani Group. The panic that ensued is nothing short of dramatic. In a little over a week, the company lost over $100 billion, a 50% decline from the company's value just before the report was released. Investors are pulling their funds, and everything Gautam had built in decades was crashing down before his eyes. It got so bad that the company embarrassingly pulled a $2.5 billion share sale at the last minute, even though it was fully subscribed. Gautam Adani's net worth has also halved, shrinking to a modest $61.3 billion. If this issue is further investigated and Adani Group is found guilty of these accusations, we can say goodbye to one of the largest corporate empires in the world. The effects on India's economy will be catastrophic. Although Adani Group did have a habit of making things like this go away, the scale of the scandal and the PR damage was one they had not faced before. Adani Group remained a conglomerate with tentacles rooted in many facets of the Indian economy. Unfortunately, Indian markets had been forced to halt trading on several Adani subsidiaries since the Hindenburg report was published. When a fast-growing country's richest capitalists lost half of their fortunes in a week, the country's economy is sure to be affected one way or another. The Adani scandal was likely to spiral into a deeper scrutiny of India's top companies by institutional investors. And even if nothing more came out of it, this type of distrust was never good for business. That would mean less trade, less revenue, less jobs, and ultimately slower economic development for sectors in India. To be fair, Hindenburg Research did have a motive for wanting to bring down Adani Group stock. They were, after all, short sellers who had a stake in Adani Group's stock failings. Short sellers were not very liked for the very reason that they profited over companies' misfortune. Certainly, Hindenburg would be making a killing from their campaign to bring Adani Group down. So, is Hindenburg Research doing a service to the world by exposing Adani Group, or do they have ulterior motives for all this? Is Adani Group going to wiggle out of this as usual? Only time will tell. Meanwhile, let us know your thoughts on this scandal in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video.